Hi guys, Olive here today to do the Around the World book tag. I first saw this tag on Mel's channel over at Mel's Bookland Adventures. Thought it sounded like a lot of fun. This tag was originally created by Liz over at Book Learning. I will put a link to both Mel's video and Liz's video down in the description box below. But let's hop right into the questions. These questions are separated into 3 different parts that all have to do with getting ready for, going on, and then coming home from a trip. So part 1 is all about getting ready. And question number 1 is inspiration, your favorite bookish character from TV or film. I know if you're a fellow Gilmore Girls fan, then the first bookish character you think about is Rory. But I'm gonna go with Paris. Lest we forget, Paris also attended Chilton and Yale. She was well-read herself. She made a Solzhenitsyn reference in one of the later seasons. Sure, she's hyper-intense and can be grudge-bearing, but she is also quick-witted, no nonsense, and she is absolutely hysterical. I have always had a very deep love for Paris. Question number 2 is travel agent, your favorite author outside of your demographics. For this question, my answer will be a nonfiction author that I particularly love, and that is Atul Gawande, who wrote Being Mortal, The Checklist Manifesto, amongst other books that I've not yet read. His book, Being Mortal, was not only my favorite nonfiction book of last year, but has also made its way onto my top 10 nonfiction books of all time list. Gawande is an early 50s Bostonian man born to immigrant parents who originally came from India. So he's demographically different than me in a myriad of ways, including education and income, considering that he's not only a fabulous writer, but also a very well-respected surgeon. Question number 3 is destination, a favorite place to read about. I feel like I don't need to answer this one. Russia. Question number 4 is Takeoff, a book you read to travel to a place that you've never been. For this, I will choose a book that I read and loved during Nonfiction November this year, and that was The Outrun by Amy Liptrot. This is a memoir in which Amy Liptrot returns back to the place that she grew up, which is Orkney, Scotland, after she has been living in London for a few years and has developed an addiction to alcohol. In this memoir, Orkney absolutely comes to life with her descriptions. It has very intense weather. It's an archipelago of islands off the northeast coast of Scotland. It is now a place that I am desperate to visit because it seems wild, peaceful, and magical all at the same time. Moving on to part number 2, which is out and about. Question number 5 is sites, a reading spot you want to visit. The reading room at the British Museum, or really any of those gorgeous libraries or bookish spaces that you see on those BuzzFeed lists just full of book porn. I am absolutely dying to spend an afternoon in one of them. Question number 6 is tastes, a food or drink that you first encountered in a book. Before I started on BookTube, I read 2 books dealing with Turkey. One was a fiction book, a thriller set in Istanbul, and the other one was a history book all about modern Turkey. I read them at the same time, which is a thing I sometimes do, of reading a fiction book and a nonfiction book at the same time that cover a similar subject matter to get more out of both of them. I remember both of those books discussing Turkish tea and the way that it is typically served. It was actually a really cool experience when I was reading both of those books. I was able to go to a tea room here in Pittsburgh and have some Turkish tea that I hope was at least somewhat similar to what they were talking about. Question number 7 is locals, your favorite foreign to you character in a book. Without question, that is Fermin Romero de Torres in The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. He is one of my favorite characters of all time, and he has one of the biggest personalities I've ever seen in a fictional character. Question number 8 is sounds, a word or phrase that you learned in a book, and this can be in any language. While I may not have been the biggest fan of the storytelling in Re Jane by Patricia Park, I really enjoyed the Korean cultural elements and some of the Korean words that are peppered throughout the text. One phrase that has stuck with me in particular is tatape, which literally means uncomfortable, but more refers to constraining discomfort or anxiety, like the walls are closing in on you. The way in which that feeling that this phrase is referring to is described in the book is really very vivid, and to me at least, I found it to effectively describe the way that anxiety feels. Question number 9 is Souvenir number 1, a favorite bookstore you've been to. That would be Loganberry Books in Cleveland, Ohio. I actually just got to go back there since I was just in Cleveland not too long ago. I first discovered Loganberry Books when a fellow booktuber, who has a wonderful channel, by the way, Rachel Ray, did a vlog where she went to this bookstore when she was in Cleveland on a work trip. After seeing Rachel's vlog, I planned a trip to Loganberry since my husband and I were heading to Cleveland anyway last summer. And when I walked in, I was absolutely blown away. It actually made me do one of those old-timey hand to the chest gasping in moments when I walked into their fiction room, because it is absolutely spectacular. They also have a store cat whose name is Otis, who is absolutely adorable. We got to see him our first trip there. He wasn't there the second time around, but the first time he was sleeping. We didn't disturb him, but it was fun to see him anyway. Since this question is all about souvenirs, I will show you one of my souvenirs from our original trip to Loganberry, which is this magnet with Otis's face on it. It's kind of becoming my husband and I's tradition to pick up a magnet in every new city we visit, and I was certainly happy that this one has a cat on it. Question number 10 is souvenir number 2, a favorite library that you've been to. Well, being the enthusiastic Pittsburgher that I am, I have to say the main Carnegie Library in the Oakland neighborhood of Pittsburgh, not only is it gorgeous, but it is connected to the Carnegie Museum of Natural History and Art. So when you're browsing the stacks on one of the upper floors, you can actually look down through the windows and see all the dinosaur fossils there. It's just one of the coolest, most unique, most charming things about our library, and it is something that I brag about to anyone who will listen. Question number 11 is reunion, a book you bought or read to learn more about your hometown. Pittsburgh isn't my hometown, but it is my home, and I love it very much, and I certainly love learning more about it. Before I even started on BookTube, I read a book called Meet You in Hell, Andrew Carnegie, Henry Clay Frick, and the Bitter Partnership That Changed America by Les Standiford. Carnegie and Frick are two huge names in the Pittsburgh area. Like, you can't turn a corner without seeing something named after them. So I was really curious to learn more about their partnership and about them as individuals. They were two founding fathers of American industry, but they had a very intense rivalry. I remember being motivated to pick this book up, not just because I was interested in the subject matter, but because my husband and I had seen a snippet of the History Channel documentary, The Men Who Built America, and one section focused on the Carnegie-Frick rivalry. I distinctly remember the dude who was playing Henry Clay Frick, over-actor extraordinaire, was pounding on a door screaming, "Carnegie!" It was so ridiculous and over the top that it has now become an inside joke between my husband and I anytime we see anything related to Carnegie in the city of Pittsburgh, which is quite frequently. We just can't help but start screaming, "Carnegie!" And the very last question, question number 12, is oops, a book that's on its own adventure, meaning a book that you loaned out that hasn't been returned, or a book that you lost or forgot somewhere. I really don't have a great answer for this one. I am pretty fastidious about my belongings, and I am not forgetful, to say the least. It is very uncommon for me to misplace things. And I don't loan out my books very much, not because I'm afraid of them getting lost or damaged. Most of my books are bought used, so I'm not too finicky about that. But really the only person who ever wants to borrow books from me is my best friend, and she's always really good about getting my books back to me in a timely fashion and in good condition. She typically borrows a couple from me every year before she goes to the beach, but she always returns them, and they've never had sand in them, surprisingly enough. The only thing left to do is to tag some people, and it is suggested that you tag people based on all the directions on a compass, which I think is a really cute idea. So for north, I will tag Steve over at Steve Donahue. South, I would like to tag Juan at Just Juan Reader. To the east, I would like to tag Sophie at Portal in the Pages, especially since she's doing her Read Around the World book project this year. I think this would be an appropriate tag for her. And to the west, I would like to tag Sabrina at Unmanaged Mischief. But of course, as always, if you are interested in doing this tag, I encourage you to do it. Consider yourself tagged. If you have any comments or questions about anything you've seen in this video or about anything in general, you can put it in the comment section below, or if you'd like to chat with me somewhere other than YouTube, I am on a variety of different places on social media, and the links to all of my profiles are linked in the description box below. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.